Hello, and welcome to another interview in the FPL Meet the Manager interview series. It's been quite a while since I've done one of these, so I'm having to remind myself of my script in my head. On the newly named FPL podcast channel, the last time for any followers of this interview series, it was called the trying to remember my old YouTube name, FPL The Beer Channel. We're now the FPL podcast channel. And in these interviews, I asked one of our lovely FPL content creators on to talk about their experiences of content creation, their thoughts on FPL and mental health, and we generally have a chat towards the end about how the season is going. Please like to get the video out there. Please subscribe to keep up to date with the interview series. I'm going to try and do about one a month, about one of these a month this season. And I've also got a reaction and preview stream now, the FPL podcast and the FPL lock-in. And if you'd like to support the channel even further, please check out channel memberships by pressing the join button. So for the latest interview in this series, and for the first one in about 3 months, I think, I have the pleasure of being joined by one of the best-known faces in FPL, Holly Shand. Hello, Holly. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm good, thank you. It's been a while in the offing, hasn't it, getting this podcast recorded. I've been a bit naughty and cancelled on you twice, but have been ill. But I think I'm back up to full health. And you cornered me at Fest, and I said I'd come on and do an interview, and here I am.
I had that in my note. I was a bit like I was like relaxing in Fest, then I sort of went into YouTuber mode and went and started buying people drinks and like asking people if they would come on. And I was delighted when you said yes. You said you've seen one of the interviews before. So I generally open up just by sort of asking you a bit about yourself. So if maybe you could tell me a few things like where did you grow up? What football team do you support? What are your first memories of football? Things like that.
Yeah, of course. So live in Grimsby, born and raised in Grimsby, support Man United as well. So it was an interesting night in the League Cup a couple of weeks ago when it was like basically manifesting my dream fixture, dream outcome as well on that. I used to be a maths teacher, and then I started making content about 11, 12 years ago now. So it's been quite the journey from kind of being full-time employed to now doing this, which I'm incredibly lucky to be able to do. But yeah, it's been a strange road that I kind of didn't really visualize myself going down, but here I am.
Yeah, what age did you teach? Was it junior or
senior secondary school? So 11 to 18. I mean, I used to love teaching A-level maths. I do miss that bit, but all the other stuff that comes with being a teacher, I do not miss at all.
No, it's sort of my sister's a teacher, sort of my idea of a nightmare job, because I know what I was like when I was a teenager. I could probably do primary school, but like teenagers just completely.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't do little ones because they've got no like knowledge of personal space and they're all over you, and I'd be like, no, get away from me. So it's fine. It was fine when they're bigger and they didn't want to be anywhere near you as much as you didn't want to be anywhere near them.
So you class yourself as a proper Grimsby over Man United then? You were more happy when they took it?
Yeah, definitely. It was quite the match, wasn't it?
Are they in the second? They call it
League Two.
League Two.
Yeah.
That's where my local club, like, no, I'm not sure if we're still there now, if we went up to League One. Not 100% sure. I'm a Newcastle supporter and a Leyton Orient, but I put Newcastle as first.
So you've decided to record this podcast when Newcastle are playing Barcelona?
I have indeed. Don't give me away. Well, it has been 3 weeks in the making, Holly. I had to grab you while you were there. So should I ask you the football questions? I will do, but maybe I could ask you about, what you support Grimsby, I assume, because you grew up there. Who are your favourite players? Could be Grimsby, could be Man United.
Kind of in terms of my favourite players, it's got to be FPL based for me. I feel like even though I'm a football fan and I'm a Grimsby fan and a Man United fan, I did get slated once by Man United fans on Twitter for saying FPL comes first, and that is where my head's at. I'm obsessed with FPL, and everything else is secondary to that. So in terms of like my favourite players at the minute, like Mo Salah, for example, we've had him for so many years doing great stuff for us in FPL. He's got to be up there as one of my favourite players.
Yeah. I was actually questioning it later on. I asked basically what would be more important to you, your FPL team score in a given game week or how your club does. And most people will not. Yeah, most people won't admit to it. I think it's only me and maybe Mark Sevens. Or maybe Gianni said it as well, but most people it's very much football. But I'm the same. I'm FPL first and Newcastle second, which probably shows why I'm recording this match, this interview during the Newcastle match. So when did you first get into fantasy football, be it FPL or a different version, if it was a different version?
So I think the first time I played fantasy football was when it was in the newspapers and you had to ring up some 09 number at £1 a minute to enter your team for the season. And I was probably about 9 or 10. And my parents used to crucify me over the fact that it was going to cost like £10 to ring up and set this team. And then you set your team for the season and that was it. I think you could maybe ring up in January and change a few players and that was it. And you had to wait for the newspaper to come through and it printed everyone's scores.
Yeah.
So I did that for a few years. Then I think it was 2014, I played the World Cup fantasy football game. There was like a league at work and that got me back into it. And then I was playing FPL from then on.
Straight into FPL after that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I don't think I've ever played one of the World Cup ones. What were your early memories? Any particular early memories stand out, either of just, I don't know, playing fantasy football in general from the World Cup or from FPL? You've been playing for quite a long time.
Yeah, I mean, I think that first season, Diego Costa had signed for Chelsea and I'd gone with him and I had a really good start to the season with owning him. And then I think the next season was the season where I think Aguero scored 5 goals in a 5-1 against your Newcastle, I think it was.
Yeah, I remember that. And captained him.
Yeah, Captain Aguero, De Bruyne. They're like probably my biggest early memories of FPL.
Has there been anyone who scored 5 goals? Probably must have been, but probably not as highly captained.
I feel like there was. I know. I can't remember who.
Yeah, I remember Salah. Did he score 4 and he got a couple of assists? So I guess he would have scored more points, wouldn't he?
Yeah, there was that. It was a St. Patrick's Day blank game week 29.
Yeah, Watford, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But, yeah, I can't remember many more than that other than Aguero. So we'll move on a bit to talk about your content creation experiences. So you've obviously got a lot of content creation experience. You've been doing it. I guess you must have been doing it pretty much since you started playing, if you've been doing it for 11 years. Is that right?
Yeah, I think it was my second season in FPL was when I started making content. I kind of joined Twitter and got involved in the conversation on there for a bit. Then I used to have my own website, which is actually still going, but it's no longer run by me, Fantasy Football Community. I kind of knew that I wanted to make content, but I wasn't quite sure kind of how it fitted in. Like I didn't want to just make content for the sake of it and do the same thing that everyone else was doing. And then I had this idea about aggregating content because even back then, I think I started the website in 2017, but I certainly on a Friday on Twitter, it was like basically impossible to keep up with all the like advice and stuff that was floating around. So I made the website to aggregate the content. Then I moved to doing a Twitter thread, and then I've kind of like moved away from the website stuff and started my YouTube channel. And a big part of that is doing the press conference streams on a Friday. But again, it's that my roots are in kind of aggregating the content and kind of displaying things in a way that's easy for people to understand. It's kind of like switching back to my teaching roots a little bit.
How did you get into that? I'm sort of skipping forward. How did you come up with that idea of the deadline, not deadline stream, the press conference? That's fairly unique, isn't it, within FPL, I think. I know Scout do the team news, but that's different, isn't it? It's not the same.
Yeah, again, it was just like I had that motivation that I wanted to be on Twitter at 1:30 on a Friday afternoon to get all of the information from the press conferences. And then I thought, surely there's got to be a way of kind of making this into content, because I was just on my press conference streams, I switch between all the different lists that I've got on Twitter, but I was doing that anyway. So it was just kind of streaming, doing what I was doing. And it's, I mean, I'm surprised no one else is decided to copy me yet and do a press conference stream. I think I'm kind of in a unique situation that I've got that USP that no one else is kind of looking at. But yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking that myself, because having had a channel now for like 11 months, it's very, very difficult to find content spaces that haven't been taken up. So you've done quite well to find that. so yeah, I've got a list of things I want to ask you about, because I sort of like, well, when I was prepared for the interview, I sort of had a look at your, I don't want to call it an actual FPL CV, but it kind of is, isn't it? Like the things you've done and stuff. So I just want, so when you first started, did you start on YouTube yourself and then move into things like Hub and the Premier League show, or did those come and then YouTube?
I think the Premier League stuff came before. Yeah, it did come before YouTube.
Okay. Similar to Gianni then.
Yeah, I think. And I know the Premier League wanted to like create this panel of experts. Right. You know the scout articles on the Premier League website. They have like input from a few of us content creators. So I got asked to do that, and then part of that, I think this was at the start of the 2018-19 season, I then got asked to do like some filming for the Premier League, just for some like videos to go out on socials for pre-season.
Where did they know you from then? They're like getting contact.
So David Munday, who used to be the editor at Fantasy Football Scout, he I'd kind of been in touch with him before when he was in his old job at the newspapers about FPL. I think he'd like written an article about women working in FPL or in football. And then from then, when he moved to Scout, I think he'd like had this kind of like discussion with the Premier League about making this panel, and I kind of got introduced to that. And then it was at the same time when Mark Southerns had stepped away from doing the FPL show, and then because the Premier League and the FPL show are kind of not, they're like two separate entities, and I kind of through doing this bit of filming for the Premier League and socials, and then got asked to do the FPL show as well, which is now the fantasy show.
Yeah, okay. So you were still just sort of like doing Twitter and stuff like that. Was that your like first?
Yeah, I was still teaching at this point, 2018. So all my socials were kind of branded as Holly of Fantasy Football Community, but I didn't have my face on there because as a teacher, you shouldn't really have open social media profiles. So it was at that point there when I did the FPL show, and then I think some kids at school had found it and had gone all the way around school. That it was like the cat was out of the bag at that point.
Yeah, must have been pretty terrifying. Like that's like going. Most people start at that sort of like the end goal, I guess, to like appear on the actual fantasy. You sort of did the end goal as the start part.
Yeah, it does feel a bit like that. It wasn't really a goal though, because it wasn't something that I expected to happen. Like, I think Mark Southerns had been the resident expert on that show for 2 years. So it wasn't, and I love Mark. I think he's like, there's only a few like people within FPL that I like hang off their every word, and Mark is one of them. And yeah, it wasn't something that I aspired for it to be me, because it didn't seem like there was an opening there or anything. So I would just watch the FPL show religiously. So then out of nowhere be on it was, crazy really.
Yeah, because that was back, we really had a big bounce in like FPL content during COVID, but back then there wasn't, I mean, there was still Hub was around Fantasy Football Scout, but it was nowhere near the amount of content that's around nowadays, was there? So it was,
it seems funny thinking that I was a bit cautious about starting off making content because I wanted to do my own thing and have my own USP because it felt saturated, and that was 8 years ago. And now you look at how saturated it is now.
Yeah. So obviously, I've got a list here of things you did. I've got here that you've been on. Obviously, you've got your own YouTube channel. You've got
Yeah.
I mean, what followed next? Was that Fantasy Football Hub next, or I've got Sky Sports?
Through my website, I was kind of working with both Scout and Hub around that time, 2018, 2019. Yeah. No, yeah. I have to get in with timelines mixed up. But yeah. And then I made my YouTube. I think I started my YouTube channel in 2019. And then I think it was maybe it was 2020 or 2021 when it was 2021 when I moved away from the website and started to focus more on YouTube.
Yeah. Did you go quickly because of that? Like, I guess people would already know your face from the fantasy football show and stuff.
What, in terms of the growth of the channel, did it go quickly?
Yeah.
I think initially it did, but then I think I was kind of held back by my editing skills. Maybe not my editing, a bit the editing skills and the graphics. Like I used to do, I was a one-take wonder. I'd just like make a slideshow and talk over it and do it in one take and put it up there. It was only, I think it was maybe 2.5 years ago that I've got myself an editor.
Okay.
I still edit my long form videos, but he makes the graphics for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was at that point where I kind of branched out a bit and made a bit more effort for it to look good rather than it just kind of standing on people liking my opinion rather than how it looks.
Yeah, I know that. I've done a tiny bit of editing for this channel, and it's not only that you have to teach yourself how to do it, it's so tedious. It's like the most boring.
Honestly, every time I open Premiere Pro, I really don't like it.
Yeah.
That's the one thing.
Hey, so else. And how about, so then when did you sort of become affiliated? Because you're a Fantasy Football Hub affiliate, aren't you? How did that link come around?
So it was right in the early days when Will was starting the website that when I had my website, he wanted to kind of feature me on there and have backlinks and do a little bit of content. So I've kind of been with Hub from the start, really. And as they've grown, I've grown. And, you know, it started off with just me writing a few articles for them. And now I do, like I run their affiliate scheme and their partnerships. So, yeah, it's like I'm doing like quite a few hours for them in a week now, as well as alongside my own content, which is nice, really. It's nice to kind of have like a proper job in FPL rather than just being a content creator.
Yeah. And last one I've got noted down here. I mean, I've got you've noted work for the Athletic and the Daily Mail and stuff. But how about the Sky Sports Show? It does seem like you and Gianni have a lot of overlap in terms of the things. Apart from me,
it's basically copied me.
Yeah, apart from me scouting your hub, you do appear to. So anyway, yeah. How did the Sky Sports? Was that a similar type thing?
Yeah, I just got an email from the producer at Sky Sports saying we're starting this FPL show. I think Sky had kind of got a contract with the Premier League. This is when all the graphics started appearing on Sky Sports for fantasy on the side for just, you know, just general in show when, you know, stats and stuff. And yeah, they said we're doing this show every week. Can you be one of our pundits on it? Right. And I think that had maybe come via Hub, as in they were looking to work with people that were associated with Hub to start off with, and then it's diversified since then. But yeah, I think I was one of the original 4, and I think I'm the only one that's still there.
Wow. Have you got any like interesting stories from the Sky Sports or Premier League? Have you met any footballers or anything like that?
Yeah, more the Premier League. You tend to meet more people, especially if like the FPL show kind of is on at the same time as when there's a big Premier League game happening, which tends to happen later in the season. Yeah, there's been all sorts of people in the green room. There used to be Ian Wright used to have his own show for the Premier League on a Thursday. So him and Kelly, it was the Kelly and Wright show. So it's Kelly Cates and Ian Wright used to be in there. Glenn Hoddle, Tim Sherwood, met Michael Owen.
Was that BT Sport?
No, this is the fantasy show is recorded at Premier League Studios, Premier League Production, sorry, which is at Stockley Park.
Okay, it's part of their own content.
Yeah, it goes out internationally, so I think the Premier League programming, if you're anywhere else in the world, you can tune into it, and it's basically on all day, like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. But you don't get it in the UK. But obviously, the fantasy show goes on YouTube.
Yeah, I'm quite a big fan.
Website and stuff.
Yeah, so I'm going to ask you a bit about being a female content creator, if that's all right, in a minute. But first of all,
of course.
I would neglect to mention that you, of course, won the 2003 FPL Content Award.
Yes,
Oh, can we have a look?
Of course. There we go.
Very nice.
Proud moment. It doesn't really show. It doesn't look great on camera, I'll be honest.
Very nice. So what did that?
It's see-through.
It could be gold.
Yeah, you'd be able to see it.
Yeah, that was. And you did win gold as well. So what was that like? That must have been quite an amazing experience.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't expect it at all. It was a complete shock. It was the season that I'd started working with my editor, so it kind of like made me think that I'd made the right decision. I think I was the first person that had started really doing the short form content. So I like to think that it was that had been recognised, and then followed it up with the Bronze Award, which is at the bottom on the shelf.
That last year.
Last year, yeah.
I
just need a silver now to complete the collection.
Are you more proud? This being interesting. Are you more proud of the gold or the fact that you had the consistency to still be in the top 3 following year?
I don't know. I'm just happy with it all, to be honest. It felt like a massive privilege. You look at the people that you're up against, and you think, how have I come away with something here? Because there's a lot of people that are pumping out a lot more content than I am.
Do you get what I mean? Like, sort of the consistency to be in it twice in a row is.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Almost as big an achievement as winning it. Do you know what I mean? In my eyes, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I was flabbergasted to get either of them, to be honest. So
I'd be flabbergasted just to get a nomination. They actually added me on. They added me on X the other day, the Football Content Creator Awards, and I was like, "Is someone?"
Oh, you never know. Then
I was like, "Someone going on here?" Unfortunately, they haven't messaged me or anything.
Yeah.
So I was gonna ask about being a female content creator. So obviously, I mean, you're one of the longest standing FPL content creators, period, but especially female. I'm guessing maybe you and Sam from FPL family, and her name Nima, maybe she was probably around about the time you started.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, you must be, first of all, you must be proud of that. And do you think it was more difficult or less difficult to get into being FPL content creator as a female? I mean, just what was your experience like?
Well, I think for a long time I was kind of behind a brand, which in some ways made it easier, but I was happier then when I did kind of start just being authentically me. Yeah, it's got its pitfalls, I'll be honest, but then I do think that maybe some of the opportunities that I've had, it's definitely helped being female. It helps you to stand out from the crowd. So there's kind of good and bad with it. I mean, I'll never know if it was any different if I was a man versus being a woman.
No, it's similar to what I mean, I've only had 2 females. I've only had Yelena and Mira on the interview series so far, but yeah, it's similar to what they said, to be honest. Do you think it's changed at all? Do you think it might be easier for a female content creator to start now than 10 years ago?
Oh yeah, definitely. I like to think that maybe I've been a bit of a trailblazer and things are a bit kinder than they were back in the day. I've always been quite lucky in the fact that I've had people to fight my corner at times when I've needed it. I don't really like FPL Twitter, to be honest. Nowadays, I do try and stay off it. YouTube tends to be fairly friendly. Never really had any problems on Instagram. TikTok is TikTok. Makes me laugh when you get comments on TikTok that just say kitchen rather than get back to the kitchen.
People haven't.
But yeah,
they haven't got the patience to write an entire sentence on TikTok.
No. But yeah, I've got a thick skin. It don't really bother me too much, to be honest. I just do my own thing regardless.
Yeah, and so I'm assuming you're full time. You and and you're living full time for FPL now. Is that like living the dream or?
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think it was only last year where I kind of say I'm full time, but I'm kind of bound by the school runs. So it's 9 till 3, Monday to Friday, and this is the only the second season of that. But yeah, it's a privilege being able to do this and call it a job, because it don't feel like work, and it's kind of stuff that I'd probably be doing anyway.
Okay, so I'll move out now to ask you some of the more like the questions I generally ask in this section. What would you say are just generally the positives and the negatives of being a FPL content creator?
I'd say, shall we start off with the negatives? I think
sure.
It's probably there's some days where you're either not feeling well, which has been me for the last few weeks.
You've got COVID
or
something.
Yeah, or something has gone on, and then it's like the last thing you want to do is sit in front of a camera and be enthusiastic. So at that point, you think, oh, it'd be easy if I could just like sit in my little office job and no one bother me. And I do find that I don't really get out of the house much, because obviously I'm doing this from home. But the positives are you can make your own schedule, do what you want when you want. You don't have anyone to answer to. So yeah, it is a massive privilege.
Yeah, I've noticed, because I only started doing sort of like game week content really this season, and it's like FPL doesn't stop because you've got something going on in your life, because you're ill, or I don't know, you're going out with some friends. It's going to go on anyway, isn't it? So you kind of have to be there, don't you? But I suppose at the same time, if you're at work, you have to be at work at 9 o'clock on Monday morning. So maybe it's not that different after all.
Yeah, I guess it's just like trying to like keep yourself motivated, but then also I'm a bit of a perfectionist as well. So yeah, you've got to find the balance and know when to stop, when to say yes, when to say no, and all of that.
So next question you ask is, what advice would you give to any FPL content creators maybe watching this, wanting to start out or early in the journey? And given what we've discussed, particularly maybe, I don't know if you've got any specific advice for female content creators or just content creators generally.
I mean, I'd say just get started, because I think a lot of people can build it up in their heads and want to like start and it look perfect. But I think you've just got to get going, get the videos under your belt, and you'll kind of find your kind of style as you go through, and you'll get better at editing and refining. I'd also say try and find your USP. It might take a little bit of a while to find it, but don't just do the same stuff that everyone else is doing. Kind of figure out what kind of your style is and what's going to get people to keep coming back.
But leave the press conferences at home.
Yeah, like that, especially 1 o'clock on a Friday.
Do you think it's easy to? Because I mean, I've found it as, particularly now, like this interview series obviously is a little bit different, but in terms of doing like standard game week to game week content, you think it is quite difficult to? I mean, I've certainly found it to stand out or do something a bit different. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think like the biggest currency around is people wanting to know what your team is, what your transfers are, what you want to do week in, week out. But I couldn't put like 3-4 videos a week up just talking about my team, like because I'd find that boring to make.
Yeah, there are some people.
It can't just be like team reveal, or I'll start the week talking about what transfers I might make, and then I'll do a little bit later in the week about what other transfers I might make, and then this is my team, and I might change it and do something else.
Yeah. There was a couple of, I won't say anyone's name, but there were a couple of channels over the summer were doing a team reveal update like every other day, and I was like, I can't watch this. I can't. Like, I've changed my 15th choice, my 15th 4 million defender since the last video. Okay, the last question I'll ask in this section. I always guess the answer to this question. I'm gonna guess the answer is yes, Holly, because I certainly did at Fantasy Football Fest. Have you ever been recognised out in the street as well? I guess I didn't recognise you in the street, did I? But as Holly Shan from FPL.
I mean, I'm going to say it happens rarely, but that's probably because I don't really go out that much because I work from home and I don't tend to leave Grimsby a lot. I think like the few times it has happened, it's been at like a family, not a family wedding, just like a wedding or something. But it's been like someone that kind of half knows me through someone else that has come and said hello. But then yeah, you get to Feston, it's weird when people know you.
You get blokes.
You kind of forget that I like in my day-to-day life, I forget that like I'm kind of putting myself out there and people might know who I am because it doesn't happen from day to day. And then when you get a room full of people that all know you and you don't know many of them, like it's like a weird scenario where you're like a celebrity for one night of the year.
A fantasy football fan.
I don't really like it that much though.
You get weird blokes like me coming offering you to buy you drinks in exchange for appearing on their FPL channels. If you do meet people outside like of fest, is that usually a good experience? Like to know that people are watching you?
Oh yeah, definitely. Oh. But I mean, like I can count on one hand the amount of times it's happened. Really? I mean, it may be that people recognise me out and about and just don't come and say hello.
Maybe you do have quite a scary demeanour, Holly. Joking. Okay, cool. I'm hoping 1 year, it might take like another half a decade, but 1 year I might go to Fantasy Football Fest. And actually, no, about 10 people did recognise me at Fantasy Football Fest. That was quite nice. But outside, I was on the tube the other day, and I was like, when the tube, I don't know if, well, you obviously go to London when it's really, really packed. And I was like, someone on this entire train must have seen one of my videos at once.
Yeah, surely.
Okay, we'll move on to the next section of the interview, which is to talk a little bit about FPL and mental health, which was a theme of the channel when I set it up. And I am a psychologist, so it's something that I care a lot about, as I'm sure you do as well, Holly. Just a reminder, if you're still listening at this point in the video, please do like and subscribe if you're new around here. Yeah, I usually just start this question by asking you personally, Holly, has FPL ever had any effect on your mental health and mood? And I think it's quite difficult. I've learned over, this is the 35th interview I think I've done in this series, that it's quite difficult to do this. But if you can, first of all, sort of as a player, forgetting about the content creation part, and then as a content creator, maybe separately. That makes sense. Although I know it's difficult to separate.
Yeah. I mean, as a FPL player, it did used to like get me down on a weekend if I was having a bad game week, like years ago. But since having children, it hasn't really at all, because I just absorb myself in family time as well. And I think it's because now I kind of have a working week of FPL, I kind of just switch off from it at the weekend and prioritize the family time.
Yeah.
So it doesn't kind of get me down in that sense as maybe it would have done like 7 or 8 years ago. Like I used to get excited for the weekend and FPL and watching the points come in. And if they didn't come in, I'd be miserable. Whereas now, like the focus of my weekends is completely different. And I kind of switch off from FPL a bit on the weekend, having thought about it all week.
Does it give you a bit of a different perspective on the world as well, having kids? I know a few people have said that to me.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, your priorities completely change.
We've already kind of touched on this one, but I'll ask you it anyway, because there are a couple of follow-up questions. You've already sort of said that you prioritize FPL over your football team.
Clubs, yeah.
Well, let's say Man United here. I'll ask you this follow-up question though. I mean, some people do this, some people don't. But say, I don't know, Salah is playing Man United. Would it affect your captaincy decision that, you're like, no, definitely not? Is it just pure FPL?
Pure FPL, yeah.
Pure FPL.
I mean, I'd probably more likely captain him because I think he'd do well at the moment.
What if Grimsby were in the Premier League?
Yeah, I don't think it'd be any different. No, it'd still be FPL would be the focus.
You're a ruthless woman with your FPL decisions, Holly. I'm the same. I'm the same. Have you ever transferred someone out and instantly regretted it?
I probably have done in the past, but yeah, it's not something that I've done in the last 5 years for sure.
No, because you've got a better perspective on things now?
Yeah, I'm always patient. I like to make my transfers late in the week. I would never make a reactionary transfer on like a Saturday because something bad had happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, patience is the key to FPL.
Boring.
And the last question in this section, Holly, is what advice would you give to anyone in general who might be struggling, on a game week basis when they have a bad game week, it's affecting their mood and mental health? What advice would you give them to help them stop that happening?
Yeah, it's a tricky one because I think if you're that obsessed with FPL, which I totally have been in the past, then it's hard to have that balance to kind of step away. But I'd say try and get outside, go for a walk, just do something to take your mind off it, and something that will make you happy. It's just a game. It's a game to try and entertain us, to provide relief, not to make us miserable.
Yeah. Do you, being a content creator, do you think it has made FPL, in terms of like the emotional involvement, more and less important? Because I guess the one thing that a lot of people have said in the interviews is you are kind of judged on your rank when you're, which isn't really the case so much in real life, is it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's frustrating. Like, that like if you're gonna have a good season, then you're gonna get more people watching YouTube videos because people think, oh well, they're doing well, I'm gonna follow their advice. Whereas if you're not doing well, then it'd be like, well, what are you talking about? What do you know? Because you're not doing well. So it is frustrating that you're kind of judged on that, but it's just the nature of the beast, isn't it?
Yeah. If you're making a video and you've had a bad game week, does it make it any more difficult to like switch the camera, just in terms of motivation?
Yeah, a little bit, but I'd never not make a video because I've had a bad game week.
Yeah, I guess if you have a really horrible game week, like friend of the channel,
it becomes a bit laughable, and you can just have a joke about it.
It does, yeah. I don't know if you know FPL Nightmare. He comes on here sometimes. He's had a really terrible start to the season, but I think everyone's loved it because not in a like nasty way. They want him to do well, but it's still provided great entertainment because like he's doing so badly. He's down to like 10 million. Do you know what I mean? But I'm almost jealous in a way because I've had quite a bad start to the season, but I'm like 6 million. I'm like, I'd really like to have a terrible start to the season. At least then people can like laugh at me and get on board with the content a little bit more. Okay, all right. So moving on to like the final section where I just ask about how your season's going, Holly, and about things in general. So I'm probably going to release this a few days after we've done this interview. So as Holly said earlier, we're recording this on the Thursday night of game week 4, isn't it? So game week 5 deadline will be in 2 days' time. So I'll probably release this sometime in game week 5. So how is your season going so far, Holly?
Terrible.
Really?
I'll be honest. Yeah, it's not been great at all. I think I'm like 6 million in the world.
Same as me.
Yeah, 6.2 million. I've just logged back in. 200 points, 202 points after 4 game weeks. I think the thing that hurts the most is that game week 2, I sold João Pedro for Chris Wood, which cost me about 30 points.
What do you think? I mean, this is a general. I asked someone this on a podcast last night. Do you have any idea why content creators in particular seem to be doing poorly this season? None of us seem to be. Like, I've got 4 regular guests or 5 regular guests. I think 3 of us are in like the bottom 3 million. I think one's on 4 and one's on 2. Like no one really seems to be doing that well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's just kind of like the template hasn't really kicked off, has it? And I've got like a league with my family, and there's me and my brother-in-law that take it seriously, and then I've got like my sisters are in there with auto pick teams, and they're ahead of us. But I think it'll all come good in the end. But yeah, there's a lot of catching up to do, and also there's a lot of people that'll have played chips early as well, which I haven't done. So it's kind of, you're probably not down in the dumps as much as it feels like.
No, I remember last season when I started this channel, I think it was about mid-November when I started this interview series, and I interviewed FPL Mate, and I was about 5 million in the world, and I said to him, I was a bit down about the game week, and he said to me, Gary, where do you think you're going to actually end up finishing though? And I did have to say what my usual rank is in and around the 100,000, which actually ended up finishing pretty much dead on 100,000. Do you still have that sort of confidence?
Yeah, at this point, yeah. Like we're only 4 game weeks into the season, so yeah. I'm not worried too much about it.
When do you think the point is someone would start panicking or should start panicking realistically?
If we're in November and I'm not in the top 1 million, I'd probably be panicking.
Yeah. I think that applied to me though. I don't think I got into the top million till sometime after Christmas last season. But
right.
Yeah. How are you finding the defensive contributions and the chips early on?
Well, I've not played any chips yet, and I didn't want to get too bogged down early in the season with, this is going to be the best time to play this chip, and this is going to be the best time to play this one. I think I'm enjoying the fact that we've got these first half of the season chips, so we don't need to worry about blank game weeks and double game weeks, and we can play them instinctively. So I'm just going to wait till the moment comes where it feels right. In terms of defensive contributions, there's been a few times where a player's picked them up and I've been like, oh, that's nice. But it's not. I was actually thinking earlier this week, I've not really thought about defensive contributions at all recently. So it probably just shows that maybe they're not that important.
So it's not really changed. I mean, obviously the chips are going to change the way you play the game a bit because you have to play them.
Yeah, I mean, when you're making transfers in FPL, you're generally not making defensive transfers. Your eyes are drawn more to what's going on in your front seven, and at that point, if a midfielder picks up a couple of defensive contributions, happy days. But you're not. I'm still playing the game the same way as I've always played it.
I think that's changed things to me a bit. Like this week, I've got Barilla. If he's out injured because I want a bench boost, I might bring in Senesi, despite the fact he's home to Newcastle. And I'm sure without defensive contribution, I probably wouldn't necessarily be making that transfer. I'd probably be going for someone with more of a clean sheet upside.
Yeah. No, I get that. And I mean, I'm rocking this budget defence, which is actually doing okay for me with defensive contributions. So yeah, there's pros and cons to it, isn't there?
Yeah. You think in general it's made the game more enjoyable or, more...
Yeah, because we're all wanting FPL points on a weekend, and if there's more routes to those FPL points, I don't think it's a bad thing. All engagements is good engagement, isn't it?
Yeah. Just a couple of other questions. Before I ask you the last question, which is how to ensure you have a great season this year, which I'll give you a bit of warning to think about. How important do you think it is I should probably put this in the content creation set of questions, but how important do you think it is for an FPL content creator to have a good rank history in terms of just being successful, whether it's views or subscribers or however you want to define
that? I think if you want to measure yourself on views on YouTube, then yeah, you probably do want a good FPL history. People aren't just tuning in for entertainment. They want to be better FPL managers themselves, and that's why they're watching you as an FPL manager. But a lot of the content that I make is more obviously there's the YouTube stuff, but all the other stuff I do where I'm more of a pundit.
Yeah.
I don't think it matters. People are more likely to watch a YouTube video if you're doing well, but I can still recommend a player that I think is going to be good this week that I can't get into my team just because of other situations, but I can still say that they're a good pick. And even if I can't bring them in and they do well, and that's still a good prediction. So in terms of the punditry stuff in general, I don't think an amazing rank history is that important. But yeah, probably in the YouTube sphere it is.
What do you think in the modern game of FPL where we've got, I don't know how many players there is this year. Is there 11 million again?
Yeah,
it's got to be approaching. It's going to approach the record, isn't it? I think by the end of the season.
Yeah, there's 11.8 million at the moment.
That's probably a record already, then, isn't it? But what do you think we should consider a good rank now not for a content creator, but for an average, let's say an average engaged player, who's playing 38 game week? Still top 10k or? we loosen up on that a bit?
Yeah, I think top 100k is the one. Like, if you was to offer me a top 100k finish for this season now, I'd happily take that.
Yeah.
Like, I've had a couple of top 10k finishes, but yeah, top 100k is the benchmark. I'm disappointed if I don't get that. I had a couple of seasons in a row where I didn't get that. But yeah, that's kind of, you can kind of hold your head up if you got that top 100k, and it is getting harder because there's more players. The player base is more engaged. It's more competitive.
Yeah, I was so near last season because I'm exactly the same. I think it would have been my 10th season playing, and it would have been my 5th top 100k finish, and I picked Bowen instead of Semenyo on the last day of the season. And even though there was only 3 points difference, I think I captained them as well. It ended up the 3 points difference was like the difference between 99,000 to 99k and like 102k. It's quite annoying.
Yeah.
But I've lost track of where I'm in my notes here. What's the most random reason you've ever picked an FPL player?
I mean, there probably is some random reasons at some point. Probably been guilty in the past of maybe picking the more attractive player if there was that option.
See, now that is playing into the female stereotype a little bit.
Possibly. I do love history of a player in a given fixture, and I can quite easily buy into those narratives. Or if someone's due like a baby celebration, or they're chasing some sort of record, or they're playing a old club, like I do get a little bit obsessed with those narratives, which is kind of strange with someone that's very much like maths data background, to kind of have those kind of stories to go with it. But I do like the stories.
Yeah, I've got a friend of the channel, Steve Elite FPL. He looks a lot when he's picking his team, not into the player histories, but he looks a lot at the last 8 meetings between the teams. They used to do that a lot in football, but they seem to it didn't seem to be such a thing.
You'll still see on like a pre-match press report on like BBC Sport or whatever. They'll still have say stuff like that.
Yeah, I guess it's becoming a bit. I don't know. I guess because we've got so much other data now, like with XG. And...
Yeah, exactly. And things are so like fast moving now. Like you're not. Like you look at the last meetings of clubs and the teams are completely different. The managers are different. Like you can't really say that just because it's happened before, it's going to happen again. But like also like I've had the privilege of speaking to Premier League players before. And I think I did a fantasy show with Glenn Murray once. And he was asked questions on, like if you've got a good record against the team, like, do you feel better going into games and stuff like that? Or, the timing of games and, yeah, I do kind of get swept up in that at times, which I know I shouldn't. There's been times where it's like, I've been struggling with a captain decision, and there's been one fixture that's on my birthday and one that isn't, and I'll go with one that's on my birthday. It's just ridiculous.
What did Glenn Murray say? Did he say he did think about things?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
So it does give it credibility. If you know that you always score against a team and you're playing them, surely you're going to be like, yeah, I'm going to score today because I've scored against them the last 3 times I've played them. Like, you know that.
It definitely works the opposite as well, doesn't it? If they know they haven't scored against the team.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I'll move on to the final question, Holly, which is with a massive FPL expert here I have got it noted down, 7 top 100k finishes and 2 top 10k finishes. What would be your just general advice, not necessarily to this season, for how someone could have a good FPL season?
I think patience is really important. I think that's key. It is boring playing FPL and playing consistently and doing well, but it is about playing boring that gets you there, being patient and making transfers later in the game week when you've got all of the information, holding on to your chips till the right moment. Yeah, that's key. It's not exciting though.
No, do you always do that? I mean, I pretty much. I mean, I've got various people on my stream. Some of them are like managers that will go, make their transfer on Sunday. But I pretty much always leave it to the last minute. You the same or?
Yeah, Friday. Friday's always the time. Friday afternoon, evening, after the press conferences.
Yeah. Do you wait till Saturday morning if there's like if the deadline's not like what's the deadline stream? You do deadlines?
I used to, but I've stopped doing them. I've kind of earmarked the weekends now for family time. So I've stopped doing the deadline streams. I feel like my press conference streams like my favourite piece of content I do in a week. And because I do like the Sky fantasy show and that, it's not always that easy to fit in the deadline streams. I like to be consistent with my content, and if I know that I can't turn up and do it every week at the time the deadline is, then I'd rather just not do it at all than just kind of be half in, half out.
It's about 50 million. So it's there for people to watch if they want to. It's not exactly difficult.
Yeah, if I can offer a stream where no one else is streaming at the same time and I'm doing something completely different and I've got kind of a loyal fan base for that, then I don't need to add a deadline streaming.
Any other advice in terms of being a better FPL player?
It's just so difficult nowadays, isn't it? I think you kind of... I think one thing that I've maybe done wrong in the last few seasons is tried to carve out my own chip strategy at times and maybe gone against the template. And the template chip strategy has always seemed to do better than my chip strategy when it comes to later in the season with blanks and doubles. So I think probably if the general consensus is this is the time to bench boost triple captain, then follow the pack.
What information do you take on board most to making your own decisions? Do you more eye test or stats or
stats? I actually watch very little football at the moment.
Yeah, no, I'm similar at the minute.
Yeah. Hopefully using that maths degree that I spent three years slaving over in some positive by making informed decisions on my FPL team. But yeah, I think it's got to be the data that kind of draws me in. I do make my own form versus fixture charts.
Okay.
I sometimes share those on my YouTube channel, but I think that gives me kind of a good basis of which teams to focus on rather than just be obsessed with players.
What stats in particular do you look at? Is it just the XG ones or is there any other?
Shots, XG, big chances, key passes, big chances created. But yeah, when I'm making my form versus fixture charts, I think it's really important to look at that kind of like level of kind of which teams are performing well or not performing well, and then drilling down into what the best players to own from those teams are. Because like team form is massive and fixtures are massive. And yeah, you can get tied up in, oh, this player is in great form, but if the fixtures aren't there or the team's not performing well, then they're often not a good pick. So that kind of keeps me grounded, like keeping an eye on like at that team level rather than drilling too much down into the players. Because you can target a fixture and you might have the best player on that team, but they're not always going to get the return. Like, remember when Liverpool won 9-0 and Salah got nothing?
Oh yeah, against Bournemouth that was. I remember that. I always remember that particular weekend because I was actually in Bournemouth on a stag do, and I came back incredibly hungover and listened to Mark Sutherland.
9-0. Look at my points.
Well, Mark's. It was remember the black box where Mark Sutherland just sold Fernand Prison. I think it's the most highly ever watched black box, and maybe one of them a Captain Salah. And I remember listening to it on the way back on the train and just thinking, thank God this is on, so I don't have to worry about how hungover I am. And
I think they had a knack of doing those like match of the day challenges like on the like worst game weeks ever, like when the most ridiculous stuff had happened.
Yeah, exactly. But the best time for getting people to want to see how terrible your team's
You always knew it was going to be a bad game week if there was a match of the day challenge going on.
Yeah. Holly, thanks so much for coming on. I'm glad we could finally make this happen. Is there anything you want to say before we finish?
All I want to say is make sure that you're subscribed to FPL Podcast and give Gary lots of support because he's top bloke.
Thank you. I would invite you on the podcast, but it's at 6 on Wednesday, and I don't think you can do 6 o'clock, can you?
No, it's not great for me with
it's not great.
bath time, bedtime.
How old are your kids now?
6 and 4.
6 and 4. Because I said to you, I watched the video. I think it was an interview. It was only like 4 minutes that you'd done about 5 or 6 years ago when your kids were like.
I only had the one, and she was a baby.
Yeah, tiny. Yeah, and I was like,
yeah, she's not tiny anymore.
And I said to you in our chat, I was like, how are they? Well, she's 6 now.
Yeah.
Holly, thanks so much for coming on. It's been really good. Thank you for joining us. As I say, for anyone, there is a small but quite hardcore following of these interviews. I will be trying to keep the series going as much as possible, but I've got 4 or 5 people that may be coming on over the course of the season, but it probably will be across the course of the entire season. Please like the video to help get it out there. Please subscribe to keep up to date with the interview series and also my new-ish preview and reaction streams, the podcast and the lock-in. And please press join if you'd like to check out channel memberships. Thank you, everyone, so much for watching. And thanks again, Holly, for coming on.